The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show, brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount is yours at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Dan Moylan with you, along with Michael Normanton and Moscow White, Daniel Chapman. We're doing Heroes and Villains now, part 3 of the show. We've previewed Liverpool previously. We've also gone through the week's news. Go back and check those out. To Heroes and Villains then, and the Ken Bates Villain of the Week award first. Loads of people are going for the board, and Jesse.
Hard to split the two of them.
Yeah.
They're kind of one and the same.
They might be split soon.
That's true. Although, what will Victor Orta do? He was his man, wasn't he? I mean, I think that's why we've not sacked him yet, because he made such a big deal about it in the first place. So he was like, really could do with this working.
Part of it will be that if they do believe in him long term, then do you imagine you can get through the short term pain and the long term reward?
I'd like to just pick this one out just because it makes me sound good. Dickie Wood is saying that Victor Orta should be nominated for shite recruitment overall. Matt Targett was a good call, Dan. So easy to get a decent Premier League ready player. Yeah, thanks, man.
I don't want Matt Targett.
No, I didn't really want him either. I just wanted somebody that's not Julie Firpo. But no.
Wasn't he asked, I looked at this because you mentioned him last year and I was like, that's an interesting one. Wasn't he Targett's? He was Villa's player of the season.
Yeah.
When you're talking about...
Fell out. Who did he fall out with? Was that Gerrard?
Yeah, but it was sort
and
of...
he got Digner from Fred Dibner.
Yeah, but all that happened right at the end of the transfer window. So it needed... We would have had to try and buy Aston Villa's best player from them. I don't know.
No, he went to Newcastle on loan initially.
In January.
Yeah, and then...
31st of January, so it was right...
But then they signed him permanently in the summer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we should have just nipped in the summer and signed him.
Oh, maybe in this summer. But you were talking about this last season.
Well, whenever.
Anyway,
just somebody said agreeing with me, so I just wanted to mention it.
So I had to put you both back in your box.
Although I am nominated further down by Scrooge for my hopeful statistics. What? Because it wasn't my statistic, was it?
You kept mentioning it.
Yeah, but it was tongue in cheek, and you know that, and now you're all just using it as a stick to beat me with.
I actually support you on the statistics. They might be the thing that keeps us up.
The 8 points in 5 games thing, yeah. 96% chance of staying up. That does give 4% of failure.
Yeah, but also 96% of success. So yeah. I believe in you.
Thanks, man.
The problem is, I don't think the current table respects that statistic, and the current odds suggest we are going the fuck down.
You don't get relegated in October.
He's right, you know. That's
true, but you don't stay up in August either, which is what Dan had us doing.
No, let's ignore that. Other nominations then, Bamford, Everything, which is very much speaking to your kind of mindset there, Michael, when you just want to chuck it all in the bin. Rodrigo and Firpo, Mark Jackson. Leeds fans as well. People unhappy with getting sacked in the morning. Says
Mark Jackson's an interesting one because Dremett points out, says he's the set piece coach, is he not? And he's doing the set piece coaching, but he's not a set piece coach, and that may be part of the problem. It's maybe not necessarily Mark Jackson's fault, but
it's like when George Graham used to play him in central midfield when he wasn't a central midfielder.
But we've just given him that as like an extra duty instead of finding a specialist set piece coach who is doing it full time, and it's is that the best way of approaching set pieces?
Liverpool had a bloody throwing coach come in once a month or whatever. He's a freelance guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
based in Europe somewhere. Comes in and does just a bit of throwing coaching once a month.
And we've got Jacko doing like a couple of extra hours a week to top up his other work. I'm sure he's busy enough before Jesse was like, "Do you want to do set pieces as well?"
I mean, Dremett's comment here says Marsch can't make Strauch stick to his man in that moment, but he can if he tells him to.
I think can't
he say you either stick with a man or you go and attack the ball, one of the two, and they don't seem to be, they're between one or the other.
The second goal, that was the thing that stood out, is that there were 3 players there, none of whom knew what to do, and that's not just maybe it is set piece coaching,
and not just a general organisational, tactical.
Yeah, they shouldn't. The ideal is that things like that, players should be coached so well that they just do those things instinctively because they know what the coach wants them to do in those situations, and then they have the mental capacity for all the creativity and the improvisation on top. And what you saw in that moment was 3 players who just didn't know what they were supposed to do, and it's not good.
I think this is maybe where Bielsa's influence is negative for us watching this, because there was a time we would have looked at players and gone, individual mistakes, bad players, and then we said that about all of the Heckingbottom team, and then Bielsa came in and made them all look good, and all of a sudden we could defend, and it was like, okay, so a system can overcome individual problems if you design it in a way and train them properly.
Yeah.
And we haven't particularly seen that, have we?
Although I will raise this, Tim Howard, it may be relevant that he was a US men's national team goalkeeper, maybe a part of him, but he was talking about the problems after the Fulham game. He said it's that confidence, but it's also, bad habits are learned. This Leeds team learned a lot of bad habits defensively under Bielsa. Jesse Marsch doesn't want to play that particular way, but he's still dealing with players who learned bad habits, particularly defensively. So all the bad habits that you're seeing amongst our players, particularly defensively, are all Marcelo Bielsa's fault. And Jesse Marsch is just trying to fix the 3 years of rampant success during which they all learned terrible, terrible habits. The days when they wouldn't even look at a cake in case it damaged their ability to run for 100 minutes on a Saturday. Bad habits. So Tim Howard there, who speaking on, I believe he was speaking on an American television channel from his position of former US men's national team goalkeeper. You've got to say he will know what he's talking about.
I mean, we do have a bit of a bias, I think, for Marsch, because when you listen to some of the coverage of it, and like Steve Nicol was kind of blaming the players, and I saw someone on Wacko discussing that clip, saying how on ESPN they're basically desperate to not blame Marsch too much because they were quite invested in him doing well in the Premier League, because it'd be a good thing for American managers as a whole, and maybe for Jesse Marsch because they want him they see him as a future national team manager and all this sort of stuff. And we have
can start now if they want
someone blaming this is the Everton fan who's a TSB Plus subscriber.
Yep,
which is still strange to me. But he's blaming.
What's his name? Name him.
Well, he's Pat the Fat Frank Agnostic Everton fan. Right. Is what his username is. But he's blaming Bamford and Rodrigo, saying as much as you want to blame Jesse, not finishing chances is killing teams.
Yep. It is, isn't it? You don't get that many chances in the Premier League, so you've got to take them, haven't you? And just talking about both Heckingbottom and the style of football, John P. Singles out Red Bull, describing it as an awful, awful style of play.
Awful drink.
That came from an awful, awful stable of clubs, and a worrying description of Red Bull football that he found after doing some reading on the internet, which is obviously a good place to find anything. Makes you think. Red Bull clubs tend to deploy an aggressive brand of attractive football at a high intensity. One of the cornerstones of the Red Bull philosophy is to be active with and without the ball. So basically, it's what Heckingbottom used to say, with and without the ball, and still does probably. It's essentially soft drink-based Paul Heckingbottom tactics. Piss off.
It's so successful elsewhere, though. It is kind of heartbreaking that we've got the shit end of it, because one of them's winning the Austrian League every year, one's Champions League places in Germany.
The key word's there, Austrian League.
But, like Leipzig beat Real Madrid last night.
Yeah, but they're not doing the out-and-out penis ball, are they, anymore, I don't think. And that's one of the other key factors here, is that it's had to be adapted for it to be sustainable and successful.
Sheffield United are in the playoffs. Heckingbottom's got them up to fifth.
It's a ludicrous league, though, is that?
This brings me back to the nomination for everything being Villain of the Week.
Their last 5 games are lose, draw, and the fifth.
Who's top at the moment? It's Burnley, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so maybe we do need to either get Sean Dyche in or Vincent Kompany, whichever, and then Tyler Roberts, QPR, are second, Blackburn third, Swansea, Sheffield United, and then Cresswell and Shackleton's Millwall, who, whenever I see them, it seems to be Rowett can't decide how many defenders to play, and yet their form is draw, win. What a weird division.
Hate it all. Who's having the Villain of the Week award then?
Probably Board.
Yeah, it feels more bored. Part of me was thinking...
I'm sorry, I'm just going to say I'm enjoying, by the way, the existential crisis. I mentioned parents in there, sorry. And what's that name? Is it Lou Hizou?
Lou his house?
Lou his house. My parents, for having conceived and consequently leading to birth of me occurring in Leeds, they put me up to this, and now 25 years later, I've sat hungover watching Jesse Marsch send a clueless team out to crumble again. Yeah, I get it.
Stupid parents.
Yeah.
Put something on the end of it, as Jerry McCall used to shout.
I often do remark this to my dad, that this is all his fault when things go bad. In for life now, though, aren't we? In for life. Who is it? Sorry.
The chance on Sunday was sack the board, and would we sack the board and keep Jesse? Is that an option? Would you like that? Seeing with the new men above him.
I think Jesse is part of the board. That's how I think of him.
It's that close.
So sack all of them.
Right, sack a lot of them.
Yeah, might as well.
Jesse on the board. It is, yeah, it feels at the moment, we won't do it at length, but you can kind of, this all feels like a judgment on what happened kind of last season, and the fact that this is all supposed to be the long-term plan of how we move on from finishing ninth in the Premier League. That's the point at which they were already talking to Jesse Marsch and thinking about who the next coach is going to be. And now we're seeing those plans to come to fruition. The temptation to jump back into a time machine and stop them is very, very strong.
Part of the problem with sacking the board is it feels there's a sort of collective responsibility there, but it also means no one has to take responsibility, because Radrizzani can kind of go, well, I own most of this, but there's the 49ers and stuff. They're kind of, that dilutes some of the blame, and then Victor Orta goes, well, there's these bits that have gone well, and Angus is kind of, well, I just do paperwork for what the other people want to do. It feels like no one is actually kind of going, yes, this is on me. The football things
Jed York
that have happened are my fault.
I think Jed York and the 49ers and Pete Lowy, I think they're kind of distanced. They get a lot of criticism for not getting involved. And I think that they've not been involved is kind of, it leaves that room for Radrizzani and Kinnear and Orta to all be gone at some point, and them to come in and go like, right, now we're going to run it properly, because none of that was us. There do seem to be the silent aspect of the silent partnership. I wonder sometimes if they've had a little bit of what I felt as well, that after all the good work at promotion and everything, and it's kind of, you say at the board, like, what, right, you've earned the right to have your Premier League tilt at this, and they've got this dream of like, we think we can get into Europe and that's as far as we can take it, and after we've done a season in Europe, then we'll sell and somebody can take us into the top six. And it could be that I'm coming around to the idea that the 49ers kind of think the same, like, all right, well, that all sounds good, crack on, and we'll be waiting to go hunt to take over when you've either done everything you're going to do or it fails. And it feels like we might be coming to closer, because January 2023 is when the option is ends, isn't it?
24.
Yes, exactly. So it's a year from this January to complete, and it's like, well,
just do it in the World Cup break.
Yeah, it's
just get it fucking done. I've had enough. Sort it out.
I'd like to see. It feels like that's going to have to happen, because you look at Angus Kinnear in the. I know straight after the game in a car park isn't the best of times, but none of that. And given how all in they are on what this is supposed to be, it feels like if this doesn't work, another go seems weird.
It's hard to conceive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you find out what they're working hard on yet?
No, it's a bit, but they're definitely working hard. But they're working hard behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be surprised if they don't look like they're working hard, or if you don't see any results of that work hard, because it's behind the scenes.
And it's ongoing as well.
It's ongoing, yeah.
It's asbestos removal in the West Stand still. Very difficult work.
So all that stuff is nothing nothing that we need to go into any details about. Just be assured that there is hard work behind the scenes. Can we see it? No.
Hey, listen.
Are we going to see some results? No, probably not.
My hard work goes to another school.
It's that interesting following. We've been doing the Player of the Season tracker, and we've been scoring Jesse in among all this as well. That all the average scores for the players have now dropped below 7 in the Player of the Year tracker, because we get our TSB Plus members to score players and manager for each game. I mean, Jesse did improve on his Leicester performance of 1.19 out of 10, and he's gone up to 1.38 for Fulham.
Yeah, he did. So it was a better showing.
The Player of the Year, I mean, it's changed places a little bit, but it's still Aronson, Adams, Meslier. Meslier was leading, but it's tight now.
Adams has essentially improved his score by not having to partake in the Fulham game. I think he's one of his.
We've got Aronson on 6.88 out of 10, then 6.84 for Adams, and then 6.82 for Meslier. So it's going to be one of those three.
What's Junior Firpo's score?
Junior Firpo's is 3.83, Michael.
Okay. Yeah, the Leicester scores, when I've been covered in any detail, Junior Firpo got 2.28. Diego Llorente got 3.16. Those were the bottom two. Robin Koch got 3.49. I guess that's the price of an own goal and a half-time substitution, but I felt a bit bad for him because he's been really, really good this season.
Can't deny the numbers, though, as Victor will tell you when it comes to Jesse.
Rodrigo was 2.86. So he was better than Junior Firpo in his half.
Right, let's do the Gaetano Berardi Hero of the Week award. We gave it to Pat Bamford after Arsenal, hoping it would tee him up. Well, it didn't quite work. And Chris does ask the question. I think Chris might be right. We could just end the show here. A hero from that fucking lot is the question.
Pat Bamford's making me feel like Frank Butcher.
Pate.
So we'll have a quick rattle through the nominations then.
Maybe he should get his hair done like Pat Butcher. That's next.
It was heading that way.
Yeah, he's got because he did get it cut for the Fulham game, but he didn't get it any shorter. I was hoping we mentioned this on the match ball. Shaved head,
like the Valencia semi-final when they all just boneheaded it.
He'll come out looking like Travis Bickle, meaning business.
Yes,
but none of that. Just a slightly modified bouffant. So he needs to get a blue rinse on it and go full Pat Butcher.
Right, Ayling, Somerville, Joffrey, and some click.
Go Shark does nominate Ayling for the successful flop, which came within the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was very good. That wasn't it? Yeah,
that was good. Straight in,
back to his finest work.
Should we mention Strike got he reverse flopped whoever the player was when he was kind of the player went down trying to do an Ayling flop and grab the ball, and Strike just pointed. It was like, do I get a free kick?
And we did, yeah,
and we did. So it was good. I wonder if Ayling has managed to educate Strauch on like how to defend against what he does, because it was a perfect example of not falling for a flop.
Lucy, I think, has probably nailed this one, Michael, by nominating us two. She had a go at our negativity, and clearly we knew more than her. Time to turn the lights off and leave the positivity party. What a great week it's been, everybody. Bask in it. It'll turn around. It'll be all right. We'll be all right at some point in the future.
It feels good sometimes to lie down.
Yeah, in a darkened room. Yeah. Partners are pulled out of the bag by a few people. Fuck Fizzy Drink Football, Irish and Very Annoyed, and MOT Paul, all for wags and partners and husbands and brothers and sisters and everybody just putting up with being a miserable Leeds fan.
Brothers and partners, brothers and sisters.
I was just trying,
all one category.
I was just trying to it depends if you're in Burnley.
Getting straight into it. Yeah. Have you got a wife and a girlfriend?
No comment.
It seems unlikely to me.
No.
You've done well. You've done well to get one of the two.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be too much like hard work. Honestly, I have it all on just getting through every day. To be honest.
What if it was Lynn Gelhardt? Because Joffrey's got some nominations. And Joffrey's mum got in touch, propaganda extra, didn't she? So,
she did, yeah.
So that was good. Not the actual one. Joffrey got some nominations for basically coming on and doing things, and people just essentially pissed off that we've not seen a bit more of him. Given what absolutely cack.
I'm going to say, you can tell we've got to that totally nihilistic tear it all down place again, because someone has just said that Jesse Marsch, Tin Roofer, has said, Gelhardt, just go in January for your own sake.
Click, same, get out of here. Greenwood playing ahead is a joke. I do think that was a bit, I felt like we barely even touched on that, but Greenwood starting ahead of Click, that was a little bit of a fuck you to Click, I thought.
Well, especially because Click has played, Greenwood was fine. I didn't think he played badly.
Shouldn't have been playing though, should he? Come on. We shouldn't be relying on Sam Greenwood in the Premier League to try and dig us out of a hole.
And it was surprising because Click has come on in every game to do that job, and came on in this game and has got all the praise. And Jesse said, he's been great, and he's just got to wait for his opportunity, and he's so that was his opportunity. It was a little bit like the Crystal Palace game when Sinistero was suspended, and you're like, oh, okay, so we're going to start Gelhardt? And it's like, no, we're just going to go with the same old boring stuff. But then this was a twist where it's like, I'm not going to go, no, it's not the obvious option, is it? It's the weird option. Like Tyler Adams is out, we're up against it, what we're going to do. It's the same as dropping or resting players against Leicester when the sensible thing to do, we had to bring Liam Cooper on at halftime anyway. Just
carry the momentum forward,
get the points, and then worry about whether the players are tired or not, and then worry about why they're tired, because 3 games in a week for Premier League footballers, especially with players like, Liam Cooper, maybe he's struggling coming back from the injury that he had still, but he used to be fine with 46 games in a season, and Saturday, Tuesday. I don't think he's become such a Premier League kind of hothouse flower that he can't cope with that anymore, or at least he shouldn't. But yeah, and that means you're reintroducing Llorente against Jamie Vardy, and it's just kind of none of those things make sense. Greenwood only made sense as kind of like it worked at Brentford, but Click just seems like you want a sensible, experienced promotion. Well, sensible isn't the word for Click, isn't it? You want an experienced promotion winner. And in fact, his intelligence in a game is the kind of thing that we look like we're missing sometimes. You want some leadership, is you want somebody grabbing it by the scruff and saying, no, I'm a 31-year-old international footballer. I can deal with this, instead of Sam Greenwood, who, bless him, he played well.
I mean, he wasn't even
parameters of what he can do.
He wasn't even a midfielder, was he, last year? He was only a midfielder at the end of the season.
He's gone from striker to number 10 to deep line midfielder.
When we didn't have any, and he did pretty well there against Brentford, wasn't it? On the last day he played in centre mid and did pretty well, but he wasn't considered to be a midfielder.
I think he could be one. Ago. He seems to be improving there, but then the red cards that he got the other week in the under-21s was the other side of being a midfielder, where it was an absolute JB, who is another midfield candidate and who has played there a lot more. As soon as Greenwood hacked this player down, he just put his hands on his head, like, oh, he's going for that, because he knew exactly what sort of tackle it was. And it would have been the sort of tackle that JB probably made as a 14-year-old midfielder, and a coach pulled him aside and said, you're not doing this in a professional environment. But then you move a player into that position who's never done it before, and they don't know not to do that kind of thing.
Greenwood he was basically pissed off about a challenge that had been about 5 minutes before in that game that the ref hadn't sent someone off for, so he thought, I'm going to get a red card instead.
A bit of bloody retribution. Well done to Brendan, by the way. Not that one, different Brendan, who flew over with Sarah for their first ever game from Canada into that. I mean, you can't pick your first game. You've got no way of controlling what the outcome's going to be, but that's one hell of a baptism of fire, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And that's the nomination comes from Tom. Right, who's your hero of the week?
I mean, Somerville scored. That was good, I suppose.
Joffy set it
up. I felt a bit sorry for Somerville because no one celebrated it either. He just rolled into the net and everyone went, yes.
He led the charge to go and get the ball. He didn't try to celebrate it either, I think. And that's maybe heroic, sacrificed his goal. And also, I guess I have the apology as well, because I forgot to put that goal into the headline on my match report, which...
you thought it was 3-1 still. It felt like it,
I mean, I wrote about it in the actual text. There was a big bit about that goal being scored, but for some reason I spent all morning, it wasn't just a momentary thing. I looked at those words written out, Leeds United 1, Fulham 3, several times as I was pasting it into different places and stuff, and it was always at the top of the document. And even because I still do the thing on Patreon where I read out my match reports if anybody ever wants to hear more of me, which yes, I'll say that with
how dare you laugh at that?
It was the tone in which he said it.
I read that out as well. That begins with me saying Leeds United 1, Fulham 3. And then I can't remember his name now, but somebody did immediately respond. That's how I knew it. Somebody replied on there and I was like, I think you've forgotten something. So I had to do a little apology. Record it again, but I just recorded that bit and uploaded it as a 30-second podcast of me reading the score properly.
Correction.
Yeah.
That's how the pros do it, Moscow. Who's your hero?
So Somerville is my apology for that. And he was great, heroic, selfless, everything we associate with a good young player.
Michael?
It's fine, you can have it, I'm not bothered.
Well, that's the majority. Fine. I'm not even. I was going to put in an argument for Joffy, but fuck it.
Yeah, he set it up. I mean, Somerville just finished it, didn't he? So
let him fight over it.
Stolen this.
There you go. Then that wraps up the weekly show for this week. We've got a new show coming as well. The TSB Guide 2 is coming. We're recording it after this, so look out for that. We're going to start with Alfie Haaland. Different times, better times, happier times than this, maybe.
The George Graham era.
Yeah, the good part of the George Graham era. Anyway, yeah. We'll speak to you in a bit.
The Square Ball Podcast.